After decades of releasing countless Sonic the Hedgehog games, Sega finally found the courage to check themselves into rehab and restrain themselves from pumping new mainline games out every 5 minutes or so, with the wait between Sonic Lost World and Forces being a whopping 4 whole years. But now that another 4 years have passed since Forces, I think we're about overdue for a brand new Sonic game. So sit back in your favorite and allow me, YouTube's toughest Cameron, to tell you why I think Sonic's coming out of hibernation in 2021, and why I'm optimistic that it's gonna rule ass.
Okay, so when I said that Sega waited 4 whole years before making a brand new Sonic game after Lost World, I didn't forget about the fact that there were a few Sonic Boom games that came out in between that and Forces that all sucked horsewinky. But to be fair though, Sega didn't actually make those games themselves, they were just a tie-in for some animated series in the toy line. So if you count those as genuine Sonic games, then I think you also gotta count the Zelda CDI games as authentic too. Now, should Sega have given the keys of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise to some random strangers during a time where it seemed like they were trying to rehab Sonic's reputation? Of course not, but it would appear that they at least put the kibosh on the Sonic Boom games, and since Sega didn't make those, I don't think it's fair to consider them as official blemishes on Sonic's record. And seeing as how Sega's managed to go another 4 years without milking Sonic of another mainline game themselves, then I do think they should be applauded for their progress. I mean, it's a lot better than a new game coming out every year or two. But the real question at hand now, though, is just what the friggin' Sega possibly do with Sonic going forward. Well, if I'm being honest, while I wouldn't consider Sonic Forces to be the greatest game in the franchise or anything like that, I do think it's a lot better than people gave it credit for. I mean, sure, it was pretty short and didn't feel like it had the same amount of care put into it as a game like Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild, but in no universe would I ever consider it to be a bad game. I mean, if you eliminate nostalgia from the equation, then I think it holds up a hell of a lot better than a lot of Sonic games that people used to love and even still do love. But even though Forces being decent's a lot better than a lot of other games in the franchise, I can't deny that Sonic the Hedgehog deserves a hell of a lot better than that. I mean, why shouldn't a mainline Sonic game get the same care as a Mario or Zelda game when they take about the same amount of time to make? But let's not forget about Sonic Mania that had a lot more care put into it than Sonic Forces and also came out the very same year. I know it's just a 2D throwback, but it is still probably my all-time favorite Sonic game to date, and I mean, it was way better than the 2D throwback Sonic team tried making with Sonic 4. And sure, you could make the argument that if Sonic Boom doesn't count, then neither should Mania, seeing as how Sega didn't make this game either, but, I mean, the whole point of it was to be a Sonic game just for the sake of there being a Sonic game, as opposed to there being some sort of a corporate tie-in with something else. Rather than some random jabronis making it, passionate Sonic fans decided to do it themselves, and Sega realized this, and they figured they might as well just go ahead and publish it. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's basically the gist of it. The important thing here, though, is that pretty much everyone agrees that the game was awesome, and it proves that Sonic can still be a lot of fun. Apparently the main guy responsible for it, Christian Whitehead's busy making a sequel to Freedom Planet, but if you ask me, that is a little disappointing, seeing as how that game's basically just a Sonic the Hedgehog clone that originally started off as a fan-made Sonic game. Man, I'm glad the guy's doing what makes him happy, but if I were Sega, I would have done whatever it took to keep him around for a new Sonic game. Especially if he's just gonna work on a Sonic the Hedgehog clone anyway, but, I mean, I suppose it is possible that he's doing both. At least I hope so anyway, because I bet he'd have some pretty good ideas for the 3D franchise. If not, though, then I hope Sega's got something interesting up their sleeve for Sonic 2021, but after the mixed reception of Forces and Lost World, along with the relatively long wait time since those games came out, I really do think that Sega's trying to make sure the next game's a universal hit. Man, sure, Sonic Team might not have lit the world on fire with their last 2 games, but they did feel like honest attempts at trying to push the series forward into a new direction. Again, not as much care went into those games as other popular franchises, but there was still a lot more than other Sonic games, and they did have a lot more time put into them at least. It's not that the games were lazy or anything like that, it's just that there were a lot of people who didn't like what Sega was going for. Personally, I thought Lost World was actually pretty good, because the run button made the slower sections a hell of a lot easier than the other games where you can't slow down to make more precise jumps. Unfortunately, a lot of people hated the run button though, and I do understand that, but I think where they should really direct their anger at's the fact that the series has slower sections to begin with. And honestly, I'd agree that Sonic's always best when the gameplay just flows better. I'm not saying Sonic should have slow sections, but if you're gonna do it, then the run button makes them a lot better in my opinion. I'm not saying Sonic games need to be non-stop speed like racing games, and I know that the series has never been purely about speed, but I do think that Sonic should keep the ball rolling in the next game, because after all, speed is kind of what makes him stand out in the first place, you know? But even though it's been 4 years since we've seen a brand new Sonic game, it is possible that the real reason for the wait's because of that whole dang PBR virus or whatever it was. Although a lot of other developers still rushed games out during that time period anyway, so considering the fact that Sega didn't do that with Sonic, I tend to believe that they really do want to give the next game their best shot. Man, after all, Sega did manage to ensure that the movie ended up being pretty good, and even though there were a lot of people who hated both Lost World and Forces, I still think it's a good sign that Sega tried different things with both of those games, cause trying new things is how you achieve greatness, even if it does lead to a failure or two. I just hope that Sega doesn't announce a release date for a new game until they're absolutely certain that it'll be completely ready, so we don't have to deal with a massive day one patch or anything like that like we did with Forces. As for what console it's gonna come out on, the obvious answer to me is that it'll probably be a multiplat that comes out on everything. Otherwise, I feel like we'd already heard about the game by now. Although, I'd imagine that it'll probably be catered to the Switch version and then just copy and paste it to the PS5 and Series X, and probably even the PS4 and Xbox One. I don't say that because I'm a Nintendo fan man or anything like that, it's just that Sonic games don't really need that much graphical power, and they usually sell way better on Nintendo consoles, so it just makes sense. Especially since the Switch is a portable. Man, I don't know about you, but even 20 years after Sega and Nintendo's rivalry ended, I still kinda feel like I'm getting away with a felony playing Sonic on Mario's console.
But anyway, let me know whether or not you think Sega's finally gonna please everyone with the next Sonic game in the comments below, and if you liked this video, then you might also like my video on which 9 Wii U games you should get before Nintendo closes the eShop down once and for all. If you'll excuse me though, I gotta go pay my egg bills before the late fees stack up even higher than they already are. Later!
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.